He was handsome, intelligent, and charismatic. From the outside, Theodore Robert Bundy seemed to have it all. A promising law student, a political volunteer. He was the kind of man parents hoped their daughters would bring home. But behind this charming facade lurked a monster, one whose name would become synonymous with pure evil. Today, we're delving into the chilling story of Ted Bundy, a man who shattered the illusion that monsters only exist in the shadows. How did someone so seemingly normal commit such unspeakable acts? And how did he manage to evade capture for so long, even escaping custody not once, but twice? Born in Burlington, Vermont, in 1946, Bundy's early life was shrouded in secrets. He was raised believing his mother was his sister, and his grandparents were his parents. A truth he discovered much later, and which many psychologists believe contributed to his fractured identity and deep-seated rage. As a teenager, he was outwardly unremarkable, but inwardly, dark fantasies were beginning to take root. He was a peeping Tom. He shoplifted, but these were just minor tremors before the earthquake. The real horror began in 1974. Young women, all strikingly similar, with long dark hair parted in the middle, started disappearing across Washington and Oregon. Witnesses reported seeing a handsome man with his arm in a sling or on crutches, asking for help to carry books or load something into his Volkswagen Beetle. This man, of course, was Ted Bundy. His ruse of feigned injury played on the kindness of strangers, luring his victims into a deadly trap. The pattern was terrifying, but with no physical evidence linking the cases, police were stumped. He was a phantom, moving from state to state, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. The Pacific Northwest was gripped by fear. Then, abruptly, the disappearances stopped, but they didn't really end, they just moved. In the fall of 1974, Bundy enrolled in law school in Utah, and suddenly, young women in that area began to vanish. The killer's hunting ground had shifted. It was here that a crucial mistake was made. One of his intended victims, Carol Durant, managed to fight him off and escape from his car. Her detailed description of her attacker and his vehicle was a turning point. In August 1975, a highway patrolman pulled over a VW Beetle for driving suspiciously late at night. The driver was Ted Bundy. Inside the car, police found a ski mask, rope, and handcuffs. It was suspicious, but not enough to charge him with murder. However, Carol Durant identified him in a lineup, and he was convicted of her kidnapping. This was the first time the charming mask began to slip, revealing the predator underneath. But Bundy's story was far from over. While imprisoned in Utah, he was charged with a murder in Colorado. Extradited to Aspen, Bundy, who was acting as his own lawyer, was given access to the courthouse law library. During a recess, he saw his chance. He jumped from a second-story window and vanished into the mountains. For 6 days, he was on the run, breaking into a cabin for shelter before he was finally recaptured. You'd think that would be the end of his escape attempts, but you'd be wrong. This was just a dress rehearsal for his most audacious getaway yet. Back in a jail cell in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, Bundy began meticulously planning his next escape. Over several months, he lost over 30 pounds, allowing him to squeeze through a small hole he had cut in his cell ceiling. On a cold December night in 1977, he crawled through the ceiling, dropped into an empty apartment, changed into street clothes he had stolen, and walked right out the front door. He was free again, and this time, he was heading for Florida with a vengeance. The final, most horrific chapter of Bundy's reign of terror unfolded in Tallahassee. Just 2 weeks after his escape, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In a frenzied attack lasting only 15 minutes, he brutally assaulted 4 women, killing 2 of them. The sheer savagery of the crime scene left even seasoned investigators shaken. Less than a month later, he abducted and murdered his final victim, a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. The nation was in shock. How could one man be responsible for so much carnage? Bundy's luck finally ran out in February 1978. He was stopped by a police officer in Pensacola for driving a stolen car. This time, there would be no escape. The key evidence that would seal his fate came from the Chi Omega crime scene. Bite marks left on the body of one of the victims were matched to Bundy's unique, crooked teeth. It was the irrefutable physical evidence prosecutors had been desperate for. The trial was a media circus. Bundy, ever the narcissist, seemed to relish the attention. He was charming and defiant on the stand, but the evidence was overwhelming. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. For years, he maintained his innocence, playing legal games to delay his execution. But in the final days before his death, he began to confess. He admitted to dozens of murders, though investigators believe the true number could be much higher, possibly over 100. He spoke of his crimes in a detached, chilling third person, as if describing a character in a book. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair. Crowds gathered outside the prison, cheering his death. But his execution didn't erase the pain and suffering he caused. The story of Ted Bundy serves as a terrifying reminder that evil doesn't always wear a monstrous face. Sometimes, it wears a handsome smile. It reminds us to be vigilant, to trust our instincts, and to never forget the victims whose lives were so cruelly cut short by a man who was the very definition of a wolf in sheep-esque clothing. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the cases that shaped history. Stay safe out there.